meeting to order. I'm going to be calling to order the March 8th meeting of the Legislative Committee for the SAC. And we have Susan is here, Jolie is here, we have Jovi is here, we have Anna is here, Matthew Falconer, Representative Comey, who we really appreciate in her tough schedule being here, and Missy Wrigley is here. Okay, so if we have that, that's good. Brian had sent out an email. I don't know if anybody saw it. It was sent on yesterday morning, and there were some bills that he had raised in that might be of interest. What I did was, and let me just start by saying, if I bring something up, that doesn't mean that's exclusively what we're going to talk about. This is just what I found. In this committee, anybody who sees anything, please call it to our attention. And if anybody wants to make a comment on a bill after I've said, okay, let's go on to the next one, please. This is not, I'm just trying to be like the shepherd here, but we want to hear from all this. I don't want to call you sheep. We want to hear from all the little furry people. So anyhow, so I just want to make that clear. If I pick something out, that's not exclusive. The conversation doesn't stop there. Okay. So in the bills that Brian sent yesterday, the two that I looked at were, and I just sent an email, and again, I apologize that I said I forgot to hit send. There was a bill which was a House Bill 5416, and it was an act concerning various revisions to the education statutes. And within that, so when he, if you looked at his email, when you looked at his email, you'll see that it has different subparts in there as to what that act is pertaining to. There was one section within that I thought might be of interest to us. That was under his 5416 section 13. And the blurb said, require the Special Education Task Force to administer a survey to special education teachers, paraeducators, administrators, and parents or guardians of students receiving special education. What I did was I went to that bill, the 5416, and then I went to the section 13 to get an idea about what that was. And it did, in fact, say that. And it talked about the task force, which Susan, you're a part of. And it says a task force which is established pursuant to so-and-so, and they wanted to have this, they said, jointly with the Department of Special Education and Interventions at Central Connecticut State University to develop the survey and analyze the results of the survey. So there's a little bit more detail in the actual section. It talked about developing and analyzing. And then it says, number 2, to allow the survey to be completed and submitted anonymously, which I think we all think is probably good, and include the results of such analysis in the task force final report required pursuant to section 13. So I thought that was one that we might want to keep an eye on, but if anybody, thinks that's okay. All right, and so what I'll do is, when you go to the legislative page, you can go to a particular bill, and there's a spot where you can say, add to my bills. And so then that'll put you on a mailing list for that, so as you can follow it. So if everybody's okay with that, I'm going to add the 5416 to my bills, and I'll track that. Is that okay? Okay. The other bill that I thought that Brian had put in there was Senate Bill 363. This was on his email, and that was entitled An Act Concerning Assorted Revisions to the Education Statute. So of course that's very broad, so you have to kind of then look through it to see which is the one that you're looking at. I looked at within what he had there, it said number 4, require payments for special education services provided by a private provider. And Anna, I was thinking about you on this one. By a private provider to commence from the start of the school year in which the provider is approved by the Department of Education.
Jeff, which bill is that? I don't see it here.
Okay, so there's Senate Bill 363. You have Brian's email from yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's the 13th bill down. It
That
says,
was the first bill 5164?
let me see.
The first one you talked
No,
about?
so he sent it. He sent. I'm looking.
So the
Let me
last
put it this
one.
way. He sent an email yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, and it's the last one, the last bill.
Yes.
In his email. Yes, I got it. Sorry.
Okay, so so that's Senate Bill 363, and there was a subpart 4 as listed in that paragraph. And I got to tell you, I'm not really too familiar with what that means, but as soon as I saw payment and private providers, I thought of you, Anna. Maybe somebody can interpret that to require payments for special education service provided by a private provider to commence from the start of the school year, in which provide. I'm not quite sure
I'm
what
not
that
quite
means.
sure what that is. I mean,
Okay, so what I will tell you is then when I went to the Senate Bill 363, when I went onto the actual page,
yeah.
okay, oddly, the sections within the bill are different than they're enumerated here. So section 4 about the payments is actually section 5 of 363. And here's what the specific language is. Payment pursuant to the provisions of section 10-76G for any contract that meets the requirements of this subsection shall commence at the start of the school year in which such private provider of special education services, private school agency or institution is approved by the Commissioner of Education and is providing such special education services. And I saw that. I saw private. I saw payment. I saw beginning of the school year. I thought you might be interested in that. But do you want to just take a look at that and tell us if that's something?
I will, but I mean, it may have been an issue that somebody heard of, but it is not. We do have issues that I hear in CAPSEF. In our association that, there is a lack of payment many times, especially if a student moves to a different district and they're not registered yet. We're not going to just dismiss the child, without education. But there are different issues regarding payment, but it doesn't come up. They're individual issues and not something that should be legislative. It's a good thing.
So what
But
I'm
I
going
will
to do
take a
is,
look and
okay, yeah, I'm not going to put it on my radar, and what I will
yeah.
so we just got we have a hand up. We just got a chat. I gotta see how I can access that. Representative Comey just sent a chat, and I'm trying to find out how I can help people.
Well, I can just tell you guys, this is an agency bill. We call this an agency bill. So this means that the agency has requested revisions to the statutes. So so this could be something that they need to have in statute to clarify or facilitate some sort of something to happen that they need revised in statute.
That makes sense.
So it came from CSDE.
Okay, so I'm not going to then put that on my radar as far as looking at, okay? But within
Jeff, this is Missy here. Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, my voice is giving out on me today. On the second part of that section 6, where it says require the Department of Education to fund the State Education Resource Center.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to get to. Yeah.
That's a very important thing to track.
Right. So if everybody,
we want to make sure that we're funded.
Okay, so if you look at the Brian's email, okay, as we said, the last one, 363, within the enumerated paragraphs, there was a paragraph 5. Okay, but if you went actually to the bill, it's actually section 6 of the bill. And as Missy said, what I'll do is for everybody, I'll read the language of what it is. The proposed new language in section 6 of 363 says, Section 10-357E of the general statutes is repealed and the following is substituted. Okay, here's the new language. The Commissioner of Education shall. What they did is they replaced the word shall with the word instead of the word may. So it had the Commissioner of Education may, but now it says shall allocate funds to allow the State Education Resource Center to provide professional development services, technical assistance, blah, blah, blah. Established pursuant providers and other educational entities and providers. The State Education Resource shall expend such funds in accordance with procedures and conditions prescribed by the Commissioner. So, again, Missy, do you want to tell us about that and why it's important?
Well, basically because it's my job. I know that we fought very hard to get language in legislation concerning CERC and making sure that, you know, those funds were covered. But I'll check with our legal person at work here, Michelle, and I've sent this on to her but I haven't heard from her yet. So I'm sure she's on top of all of that, but I will check with her and see if there's anything specific about that one.
And the
Okay.
public hearing is on the 11th, which I don't know what date that is. Maybe Wednesday or something, or Monday. I don't know.
That's Monday.
So CSDE is gonna submit testimony for this bill. So you can, assuming that testimony will be submitted by Monday, or you can testify in support of it. That's always great, or submit written testimony.
How about sorry, go ahead, Susan.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I hope we go through the rest of this bill because I have a couple of myself. So are we going to keep going down it? Because it seems like the universal playground design and things that we should support, or?
Okay, so let me just ask this. For the legislative committee, what we've done in the past is if we've decided where we think that we want to do some sort of commentary, we've kind of run it by the executive commission, that we don't do it unilaterally. We have this tight schedule of Monday. I'm willing to send a quick note for the public commentary for the funding of CERC, if that's okay with everybody. Susan, what do you think about that?
I agree. I think we should just maybe, since it's Monday, just focus on this bit and do what we're in support of. Does that make sense? Just like focus on this bill, and then you can just literally today send out a note to the executive committee and say, this is what we're going to do. If you have any objections or comments, I'm assuming that's what we can do. Makes sense. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, is Brian on this call?
No, because Brian will get that email and I'm sure he'll respond.
We should talk to him because this is an agency bill. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we should have a conversation with him as to what is the driver behind these elements that we have concerns. So perhaps before you send it out to the big committee, send it to Brian and the subcommittee and say, these are the things we discussed. You know, do you have any insight into it?
Yeah, I will do that. I will do that.
Jolie on here still? She's not here.
I will ask him if saying that we have an interest in sending a letter of support to this portion here about CERC and wanted to know if he has any objections or feedback. and I won't send it out then without him getting
Right.
back to me.
Right. So number 5, support, because I want to, the school, number 7 requires school playgrounds designed after July 1st to comply with principles of universal design, which means everyone can access the playground. So I think that might be something to support that. Anyone else?
Okay.
Should already
I would agree,
Apple
yes.
design, but what do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't have a problem. You want to have everything accessible to everybody. You know, you don't want to have the kids standing
Absolutely,
off.
yes.
You don't want the kids standing off to the side looking and, you know.
Absolutely.
And then number 8, Jeff, do you see it says require regional boards of ed to establish a parent council for each school under its governance?
Yeah.
That's something we got to keep on for our priorities. And remember, we've talked about SEPTOs in the future. Now we know that maybe that could be part of an agency bill requiring, I don't know, since we've had legislators approach us about that.
So are you saying that you want to have us then, should I inquire of Brian? Or you're saying that we want to go forward because it's to say that we are in favor of requiring?
I'm saying as a SAC, we need to think about it more and talk it. Yeah, maybe not this year, but as a SAC, we need to like, that needs to be one of our priorities is getting SEPTOs, just like Massachusetts has, but that's not something we have to deal with like today.
Okay, so.
But I want to ask about 9, but
Okay,
that's
and
number
so-
8.
So can I just chime in with number 8? So 9, if that does not include SEPTOs, then
No.
the commentary, the testimony should be, please include SEPTOs in this policy number 8 rather. So that should be the recommendation, because what happens during
Okay.
these public hearings is that they will take feedback from the stakeholders and make revisions to the law before it goes to the floor of the House for a vote. So if we see any gaps or people have forgotten, the special ed population, then that's a great role for us to play.
Okay.
And I will say it would be super helpful if someone could sign up to testify in person, either by Zoom or, obviously in person, but it doesn't matter. In Zoom, testifying by Zoom is fantastic as well. Because it really, you can talk directly with Jeff Curry.
Robin, how does it do? Because is it like, didn't it used to wait all day? You had to like hold off your whole day. How does it work now? I mean,
so if you do by Zoom, so you have to sign up by 3 p.m. the day before the hearing, and then by around 5 p.m. they come out with a speaker order. And so you will know if you're number 6, you'll know you're in the first hour. If you are number 46, you know that you're probably 4 hours later. So, I mean, I'm happy to, and you can just watch it. You can be doing all your work. You can have it running, they'll send a Zoom link if it's by remote, if you're testifying remote. And you can just have it sort of running as you're doing your work during the day. And you'll know what number they're on because it will tell you, where it says our names, it'll say Susan, and it will say right before your name, it'll say 46. So you're testifying on 46 now, so you'll be able to keep track of when it is. And
So since the meeting is on Monday, does that mean that you have to do that by Friday at whatever, 3 o'clock, whatever time you said?
no, I believe it's 3 o'clock on Sunday.
So, you can do it on Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll
basically,
probably
it's
be
it's
closer to
basically
the
you're
end.
you're at the deli counter waiting to buy your salami, and you got your number in your hand, and you pay attention. All right. Let's go to the next one. I'm not going off that
Oh,
topic.
wait, 9.
That's what I'm saying. Go to
Look
the
at
next one,
9.
meaning 9. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So that was my question earlier about magnet schools, because, so Anna, if you have a student, can they participate at their regional school, like in unified sports? Are they not allowed? Like in the school they
They-
reside, the district they
they-
reside in?
They do participate, and it's not district where they reside, it's the district where our classroom is. However, that is based on our relationship with the district and our work with the district. It is not legislated. So this is wonderful. Like, for example, we have a classroom in Anna and Tolini in New Hartford. Beautiful district, and they are so welcoming to our students. Our students participate in everything. They are completely part of the school community, and most of those students live in that, because that's a region. So
Mhm.
most of them live in the region. So it's extremely beneficial.
So it should, because you're not a magnet school, that was my question.
No.
So it should say private.
It should
What's the
say
wording for
private.
you? And
Yes.
private provider.
I don't think that would be, it costs money, and I'm not sure that, I mean, you can make those recommendations, Anna, but I don't know that the private school would be adopted. Then we would, then religious schools and everybody would want to get in on
Well,
that, because right now, I don't know.
One thing that we could do is we could say state approved schools, because that does not include religious schools. It only includes schools that partner with school district and serve school district students. So it's the funding is completely different.
Yeah. That might be a
And
better
can you
solution.
specify unified sports?
Oh, what do you mean you specify unified sports?
Because they're talking about interscholastic athletics, because they might say that intramurals is not unified sports, but it is, right?
You could suggest
Oh.
both.
Okay.
Susan,
Thank
how
you
would
so
you-
much,
you
because
could
I really didn't
state-
quite
I
understand.
think this was, and I think Robin, you do have a point, because it does say here magnet schools. It doesn't include regional, meaning RESCs. RESC schools. So that could be meant just for those students, because magnet schools are within the districts.
So for instance, my son goes to a magnet school. There are no athletics. There's no,
Oh,
there's nothing. It's an arts school, but I would imagine that most schools in new magnet schools, say in New Haven, for instance, do not have athletic teams. So right now he could probably join, if he were a football player, could probably join the New Haven football team, at one of the public high schools. Or but I think what they're saying is that they could maybe go to their home district and join the Branford High football team. So I think that's where that's coming from. And just as an aside, I have heard from homeschool parents that would want to be able to send their kids to intramural, to programs. And that is not something that, is considered now, just because it is an undertaking that the, a cost associated with that.
It is cost associated, but when you think about the students, that would be so good, especially from home taught students, because they may not get unless it is very organized where they have those study groups and activities together. These are the kids that lack the social interaction with peers. It's
What's the what would, just out of curiosity, so let's say you have Norwalk School District, and there's there's Norwalk High School and they have a football team, and there's a kid who's being homeschooled and he's whatever, a couple of blocks away or even like across town, and then but he and his parents would like to have him play on the football team. What's the extra cost besides equipment that you would give any kid who was in the school itself? What's the extra cost of that?
The field time, the ambulance that waits for them after the game,
No,
the
but I'm saying,
buses, there's a lot of cost.
No. What I'm saying is by adding that one particular kid, okay, so they have a football team, they have a field, they have a coach, they have an ambulance, they have whatever, and they have helmets and shoulder pads, and the kid's at home and he wants to play. What's the added cost from having a homeschool kid? Obviously the equipment, but you would give that to any student who happened to be matriculating in the school.
Right.
I'm wondering, the only thing I can think of is whether or not the parent wants to have the kid driven there and picked up. But
well, Jeff,
so
I
when
think
schools co-op now, they have to pay. Like if Haddam wants to play a sport, like they don't have a team and they want to co-op with like Madison, Haddam has to pay a certain amount for that student to play the sport. Sorry, go ahead.
Jeff, I think what it is also is every school gets funding per student, okay? And if a student goes, let's say, to a private school, like a parochial school, all right, they'd lose that funding, all right? So now if a student goes to a private state approved program, they don't lose that funding. That's part of their funding because those privates partner with the school district. The IEP still belongs to the district. Okay. So and homeschooled kids, I'm not sure how the funding, if they lose the funding for that student, because
there is no funding for homeschool students. So
there is
so
no
I-
funding.
so
So,
I-
okay.
that is not, I don't think it's worth talking about just because it's not under our purview. Not our battle to fight, I guess, this year.
Okay,
And maybe someone else can fight that.
All right, I'm just throwing that out. And if I could just go back one thing to the section 8 that we were talking about, establishing a parent council. And then Susan, you were saying that you wanted to make that to a council or SEPTOs. What's your
Yeah, but it would be a district-wide SEPTO, probably not per school. Anybody know anything
That's
about
what I
SEPTOs?
was thinking. Because the way this is phrased, require boards of education to have a parent council for each school. I don't think we need to have that, right, for each particular school building.
I don't know.
That's a lot.
That's
Right,
a
so
lot. Yeah, that's a lot for each school building. But I mean, even, regional, I mean, it's a lot for each school building because it's not enough students in one.
Right, and so I was thinking that, you might want to have, so would we want to suggest that it not be for each school, but it be for each school district?
Right.
Okay, so we can, okay. So, and what I have planned to do is I plan to take these thoughts and put them together in an email with copies to everybody and run them over to Brian, and then anybody else can chime in when they see this. Mine's just going to be an outline, and we'll get some of his feedback as well, because he'll have a perspective from the top of the mountaintop too.
And
So-
Jeff, that should include privates also. Privates should have SEPTOs because, we talk so much about that communication with parents.
But let's, Anna, do tell me, what is the language for your type of school as opposed to just a private school? You know, that's just for.
So the language is that we get accredited by State Department of Education, and we have standards that we have to meet, principles and standards. So all of our teachers are certified, our administrators are certified. So we have same regulations as public schools.
What's
your
the
kids-
name of you? What's the name? What do you call those? State approved?
Yeah.
What's the name for that again?
State, it's APSEP.
Right.
Approved private special education program. APSEP.
And those are schools that exclusively have sending districts. Is that
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Most of us only take district referrals, but we can take parent referrals as well, or private referrals. The only thing is that then your licensure is a little bit different. You have to put that in the application for the approval. What kind of a school are you? What district? What referrals you take, and all of that. And we are accredited every. They come out every 3 to 5 years to do gigantic review and observe the program and all of that. But the monitoring is quite different than in other private schools, because the district attends PPTs, and the district is always there. The district really is day-to-day monitoring and parents. And then the state is called if there is a need.
Okay, so so what I'm gonna do is then, well, let me ask you, any further comments on this 363? Okay, so I'm gonna put together something. I'm gonna try to put all these different thoughts in there. And Robin, I really appreciate your, your views on this, because you really are helping us out to narrow the
Yes.
focus. It's amazing to have, you have no idea how great it is to have somebody with boots on the ground in the committees to have commented.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thanks. You guys can help door knock for me this coming.
Are there, now the other thing too is, let me just, before we open up the floor to others, there was the aspect of, about the same day notification. And I had reached out to Representative Curry on that. And, he was all for doing that, and we had it. And then I got a note from him last night. I don't know if I forwarded it to you guys, in which he was apologetic, in which he said that somehow he had overlooked it and didn't include it in some of the language, the topic at all, let alone our refinements. But he said he was going to include it at some point. So there's nothing currently that has the whole the same day notification that's part of the bill. I think what I could do though is, well, I've already said to him it's important, so I don't know if we have to set it again. I just wanted to give you guys an update, because I was looking around to try to find out. So I was going through the General Assembly website, the bill search, and I was like typing in, restraints, inclusion, notice, parents, same day, and I couldn't find it. And then yesterday he sent me out an email to myself, and he also sent it over to Andy Feinstein with Seek. He goes, I think you guys are the only two that are interested in this. But he was really good. He said, I own it, I apologize, and I sent it back. He said, don't worry, we appreciate everything. So I just wanted to let you know that he's aware it's not currently in the bill, but he's going to make every effort to include it. Okay. All right. And then Susan, you sent something today, another bill that you wanted us to look at.
I think we've been looking at it. It's SB 14. It's one that has fund the Office of Dyslexia in it.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to bring it up. I don't know. So, SB 14, okay, let's see. Bill info, grants, 14,
So that's the governor's bill, the
okay,
funding
Mhm.
mechanism. That's the funding mechanism. And that is also having a hearing on Monday. So if someone would like to sign up to testify for whatever changes or revisions or recommendations for that,
let me ask,
that
what
would be the
sec,
time.
which section do you know offhand, Susan? I have the whole bill here,
Right in the beginning, the funding for the Office of Dyslexia, I think it's section 1.
Mm.
okay,
And then this is, yeah.
section 1
Mhm.
says, there is established an Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities within the Department of Education, which shall be under the management of a chief. The chief shall be qualified by training, da, 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 da. The Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities shall, 1, verify the compliance of the educator, including intermediate administrative and supervisory programs. Talks about scientifically based reading research. I don't see anything about funding in there as far as new language.
Oh, I thought it was fully funded, but no.
It is. It's a governor's budget. It probably, I'd have to look to see if it has a fiscal note attached. It might, but the only parts, so this office was created last year, right? I think, or 2 years ago. And the part that has changed is just the underlines.
Right.
See.
There's also a new section 6, which not later than January 1, 2009, every 5 years, the Department of Education has developed and make available to local and regional boards of education a guide of recommended resource allocation strategies designed to target the allocation expenditure. That's a new section. And then stating the purpose to implement the governor's budget recommendations, as Robin said.
Right. So these are the mechanisms to implement funding changes to it, but I would have to hunt around to see what those are.
So are we saying then we want to be in favor of the fully funding of the want to get the Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities? Is that what we're aiming for?
Yes.
Okay, well, so we're in favor of, okay, so, all right, so we can include that as a, run that by Brian as well. Okay. Were there any other bills or portions thereof that people wanted to highlight?
Tom has his hand up.
Hey guys, my apologies for being
I'm
late.
sorry.
You might have, hey, that's okay. You might have addressed this already, but on that one, on SB5, obviously the biggest nut on that one is that excess costs, fully
Mhm.
funding that and entitle it. So you guys already had that conversation. Okay, obviously we'd be in favor of that and fully funding the bit.
SB5.
I mean, that's what it seems. That's the big piece of that they've been talking about is fully funding that excess cost. Right.
There's
Back to
several
towns.
bills. Yeah, there's several bills
Okay.
on that. There's
Are you drafting some written testimony to submit, Jeff, on these items? Is that what you're doing? Or I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, so what we were going to do was I was going to try to take everybody's thoughts that we had here, put them together and forward them over to Brian for his observation to see what he says. He may want to refine, he might say, oh no, whatever. And then when he gives us the go ahead there, then what we can do is send a letter to the appropriate committee on that.
Well, as far as, and Robin can back this up,
Yeah.
but you would just submit it to testimony on the bill. So, right. So if you go to SB5 and there's a spot to provide written testimony,
Yes.
that's probably the most effective way to do it, is just to
Yep,
submit
that's what we were talking about.
Okay. Submit it to written testimony. And I mean, again, I know Brian is, ultimately, the executive committee of the SAC is the ultimate decider of whether we approve that, what we write up. I mean, I appreciate getting Brian's input and I'm all for that, but, yeah, anyway.
I agree. I see what you're saying, Tom. My specific, Jeff, my specific recommendation to send to Brian was regarding the agency bill only. I mean, was really regarding the agency bill, which we were talking about, which was the, I don't know, 5814 or whatever it was that we were talking about a little while ago where we ticked through. That's the agency bill. And that is what I was saying that might be worthwhile to just say, you know, this is what we're thinking. Are we perceiving, you know, something may have been proposed by the agency.
And we don't want to speak
for instance,
opposite of, right?
For instance, the funding of the office of, was it CERC or whatever it was?
Right. That was 363.
Yeah, which section of 363? That was section 5. Right, the
Oh, wait a minute. I'm
Line
looking for
item 5, right? Anyway, so yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Robin. I just, again, on some of the stuff.
Yeah, I don't.
If the executive committee comes to a consensus, then cool, do it.
Yeah, I don't think we need to send Brian approval for
on all stuff.
All the bills, especially the ones that are coming from advocates, right? Because that's what we are. You. So I was just thinking with the revisions to the statutes language, that is specifically a bill, and we just want to make sure that we understand the intent.
Okay, so what I'll do is I will run by the CERC funding out of Senate Bill 363 by Brian. The remainders of that we talked about, I'm going to put together a little something and I'll send it to you guys just to look at. The difficulty, Tom, that we had discussed was, for example, the bill which was Senate Bill 363, which had some things that we discussed on it, is having the public hearing on Monday.
Right.
So,
no, these happen super quick. No, I get that.
Right. And so generally what we've done in the past is the legislative committee has run it by the executive committee, and they're not going to. So I think what we can do is, Susan, how do you feel if I send it to you and you can kind of do a straw poll of the people on the executive committee? You're not going to have time to.
Yeah.
You're not going to have time to have an official meeting with votes and everything like that. But I'll put together something.
And I'm at a hockey tournament in Pennsylvania.
Which is true. Okay.
I'm at a hockey tournament.
Perfect.
Right.
So, also, I want to. This bill also has section 4 where they're talking about the cell phones.
And which this bill?
The model
363.
The SB 14.
Oh, SB 14. Okay.
The one we were just looking at for funding dyslexia. It also has the section about cell phones where they would like the State Board of Ed to develop a model policy for the use of mobile phones. And I just want to make sure that they're looking at it through the lens of students with disabilities and accessibility. And on my own, as a private citizen, I talk to my representatives, and they're going to try to speak to it during the Senate screening and talk to the chairs. But that was like on my own, not as like the SAC chair. So I just want to, I know we've talked about this and I've brought it up at many meetings and Jane has talked about it, but they have to consider some sort of special education and students with disabilities waiver.
So that was my question, because I wasn't familiar, because and that's why I think I had sent an email to you. So you're in favor. So if they're going to regulate where the phones have to be surrendered or lockboxed or whatever, you're going to say there should be a waiver where kids.
Personally, I'm not in favor, and I think that it needs to be discussed with not only the Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security for safety for students and students with disabilities, but also through the Office of the Bureau of Special Education. I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are. Those are my own personal.
No, that's what I want. I'm not saying I was in favor of that. I wanted to know what your.
Oh, you were just asking my opinion.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I wasn't saying I was just saying what's your concern on that? So,
Susan, you should write a letter specifically in testimony in that,
Okay.
Even if you
Alright.
can't just join it, you need to write a exactly outlining what your concerns are. And the
Okay.
scenarios that could happen that you're concerned about.
And that as a personal person, not as SAC.
Yeah, just not talking to your
Yeah.
representatives because they
Yep.
we
They read those testimonies, so you can put it in, and you can put it in favor or against, or just to educate, right? Neutral. So that's
Yeah.
often a way to do it, Jeff. Like as we put our, testimony in, it doesn't have to be, because we might be in favor of one piece and against another piece, right? These are big, these giant, just miscellaneous things. There's like 18 million different miscellaneous things. So you can speak to one and then the other and then the other, a couple of them, and just put it as an educate thing. It doesn't have to be for or against necessarily. So I think that's beneficial too.
That's true too. So like, Tom, I think your point's well taken. It could, so we could say, well, whether we're in favor or against something, but let's say we're in favor of something, we might want to refine it, to say,
Yeah.
but here's another consideration.
Well, and again, on cell phones, it could just be, hey, please be, understand that, students with disabilities have different concerns that you need to be aware of. We're not speaking for or against this particular piece because we don't even know. They're just saying develop guidelines, you know what I mean? So we're not even, which is
Right.
cool, but just be aware of the needs of students with disabilities as you develop those guidelines. Boom. And it's an education thing. And, I don't know where I stand on how cell phones or whatever. I think it's the whole thing's a nightmare, but, anyway.
You're right. That's kind of, Tom, that's kind of how it should be worded probably from the SAC, that we aren't for or against, but we just please remember.
Take this into consideration, the various needs of students with disabilities might differ from other students, yada, yada, a couple generic, a generic paragraph that, but raises it. So then they go, oh yeah, let's make sure. It's the old thing. We want our voice there, whether it's a task force or whether it's just a study, whatever they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Similarly, on the topic we were saying that we wanted to have. So this is like similar to what you're talking about, Tom, on the issue of whether or not we wanted to have same-day notification of restraint and seclusion. Some other additional thoughts are, okay, same language. What's the means, method, and mode of the communication? So they'll say, keep in mind when you're doing that, saying that just don't leave it there. There's some other refinements you want to take a look at. Okay.
I have to revise what I have been saying about the agency bill. I just checked with Rep. Curry. They are both committee bills, 363 and 5416. So my apologies for misunderstanding that. I think it's just, but I did get clarification, Jeff. So would you like me to ask Rep. Curry about the funding piece? Yeah. And
could you,
Yeah.
tell me what's the difference? So please accept my ignorance here. What's the difference between an agency bill and a committee bill?
An agency bill comes directly from the agency. A committee bill comes directly from the committee.
Oh, okay.
So if you and I wanted a bill, wanted something, if I came, for instance, last year I requested that local boards of ed make sure that they publish all associated documents online before public meetings.
I read it.
That went in a committee bill.
Okay, so it's a question of who initiates it. So that
Exactly.
Okay.
So and so what is it? SERC, SERC? Is that what I'm asking?
Yes.
Yeah, State Education Resource Center, SERC. Sir.
That's what I'm asking, the funding.
Correct.
It's very important for some of us to have that funding. I think it's very important for a lot of people to have that funding, including educators and districts.
Agreed.
And what piece was that? What number was that, Jeff or Missy?
That was it was section 5.
Okay.
But let me just tell you
363, I think.
Well, it's
Section
363, but the way they had it numbered in the thing that Brian had, it was numbered wrong.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. I'll just ask.
so
Is section
7 was
6
8, 5 I
according to
think
yours.
was the CERC was listed in the thing as 5, but I think actually it's within the bill. I believe it is section 6. So I just want to make sure. Yes, it's actually in the blurb. You know, where it lays out, it refers to that as being section 5, but in the actual bill itself, it's section 6. So what Brian sent us that email, it said Senate Bill 363, and it laid out the different subparts of it, and that referred to 5 as require the Department of Education to fund the State Education Resource Center. But actually, within 363 itself, it's actually, yeah, okay.
It doesn't matter. It'll change by the time it even.
Okay.
That's anyway.
Robin, this is Missy. If I could ask you a question, just looking at these bills, and it's more of a personal question than one for SAC, but there's number 377, an act concerning the teacher's retirement board's recommendation for changes to the teacher retirement system statutes.
Yeah.
Since I'm a teacher and I will be retiring soon. I mean, do you know anything about that at all? Is that?
You know, I know we talk about it every year.
And I'm looking at it. You know, it's like 5 pages long, and it's like trying to figure out what they're trying to say. But if you don't, that's fine. I just didn't know if you had any inside scoop as to what they were really looking for here. So I do know that because when I first started at CERC, and the only reason I moved into CERC was that they were going to continue the teacher retirement for employees. And so I've been paying into teacher retirement even the 15 years that I've been at CERC. But as of this year, I know that CERC said that they can no longer do that. But because I will be grandfathered in, at least that's my understanding, to continue to pay into teacher retirement. I want to make sure that that continues, because I don't want to lose that in my last couple of years, you know, of working. And so I wasn't sure exactly what it is that they were looking for, but as long as I get grandfathered in or other people get grandfathered in, that would be good.
Yeah, so I would have to look closely at it or ask Rep. Curry. We have it's the public hearings on Wednesday. It says it's hard for me to look at fully on my phone.
And that's fine.
But I can ask her. But you know what? I'll talk to. We can figure it out. We have a little bit of time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for doing that for her. Are there any other bills that we would like, or subparts or anything like that? Okay, so
and I got an answer from Rep. Curry about the CERC. It's as you indicated, Jeff. It's a may to a shall.
Right. That's what. Yes, shall.
So I mean, I think it's great. We should support that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And since this is a committee bill, it's not necessary for us to run this by Brian, right?
Right.
Okay.
That is true.
And when I say that, I just want to make it clear, we're not trying to put something around him. It's just that we were going to do that because we wanted to get his input, since if it was a agency supported or initiated bill, but it's not. So what I intend to do, guys, is, and then also, Robin, thank you so much for communicating with Representative Curry during the course of this. It's really helpful. You know, it's like, you know, you're riding 2 horses as we're going along here. So you're in the circus. I appreciate that. So I'm gonna take this while these thoughts are still in my mind. I'm gonna try to put something together. I'm gonna send it to you guys, so keep a lookout for it. I have no pride in authorship. My feelings are, you know, very well, you know, I don't have any problem. So saying, hey, we said this, we said that, we didn't say that. That's fine. I want to get something together. Okay, so keep a lookout. All righty, guys.
And real quick, I'll just say this, Jeff. I know I'm kind of unofficially been joining these committee meetings, and I appreciate it. Just because, again, my ideas and thoughts and skin in the game, so to speak. If there's something that I can contribute, let me know. Again, I can educate. I can't, speak for or against a bill, but I can go, and I do frequently go and just testify, in to educate policymakers. So, if there's something that we need to be at the meeting, at the hearing, because I think it's more powerful when you're there. I've been there in person and I've submitted written. It's more powerful when you're there. So if there's something we really feel strongly about that it's going to have a significant negative or positive impact on students with disabilities, and we need to be there, just say that, to us. And if the group feels that way, and I can try to get up there on a particular day for a hearing. Again, the end of these things happen super quick, but I think it's helpful if we can get there in person, if we're able. That's all. So I'll offer myself to do that on occasion if I'm able to get up there. It'll be helpful, again, just to educate. So.
No, that's, first of all, running things by you, we appreciate your input because, look, you're at Disability Rights and you're seeing the issues that are being brought, the ones that are you're seeing the pointing end of the spear, the stuff that's going on. So we appreciate your input.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
All right.
I guess. Thanks for the meeting.
Well, one question I have for you, Tom, is that Kramer behind you?
It is. I just put him back up today because I get comments back and forth. So he makes his spot up on the wall frequently, and I switch him out. And just yesterday, my colleague was like, "Where's Kramer? Why'd you take him down?" So I put him back up. It was a nod to the Seinfeld years. My daughter got it at a tag sale for me for $3. So there's Kramer.
Well, I think it's $3 well spent.
I love it. It's great.
I've gotten hundreds, many comments.
All right.
Keep Kramer.
All right,
Keep Kramer.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So do we have a motion to adjourn then? Somebody?
So moved.
Yes, Susan.
All right. And then a second?
Yeah, okay.
We
Missy?
have-
Second.
We'll say
Yeah.
that Susan made the motion and Missy did the second, and all in favor say aye. Aye. All
Aye.
opposed, all abstain. Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm going to try
Jeff-
to do something real quick.
Thank
Can we
you
just
so
keep
much.
this meeting
Thank you.
open for